Hey there, podcast lovers. Looking for a fresh take on the world? Tune into Nikki's World, where we dive into everything hitting the headlines and chat about just what's on our minds. No filters, just real talk. Whether you're sipping your morning coffee or unwinding after a long day, Nikki's World is your go-to for genuine commentary on the real world. Subscribe now if you want to hear the real deal on what's going on. Join the conversation on Nikki's World, where every episode feels like catching up with an old friend. Don't miss out.
What's up, y'all? Let's do this.
Oh, hi guys. Welcome to Nikki's World. I'm Nikki, your host, and today, guys, we got to talk about what happened this weekend at the White House Correspondents Dinner, where another deranged lunatic leftist wanted to attack President Donald J. Trump and wanted to actually try to assassinate him. The political violence on the left is getting out of hand in this country, and we need to talk about that and so much more. But before we go any further, guys, if you guys love Nikki's World so much, seriously, y'all, can y'all please consider donating a cup of coffee for me? Because for a price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Cumberland Farms, guys, you guys help keep this podcast show alive. You guys help me curate more stories, more topics like this to talk about. I do accept Bitcoin donations. I am on Ko-fi, guys. If you guys want to donate, sponsor, tip, and commission me for a modeling photo shoot. If you guys love Nikki's World so much, seriously, y'all, please hit that like, subscribe. Please give me a review. Good, bad, and the ugly. Also, guys, I do have a bunch of affiliate links. First off is Minds.com. Minds.com is a Connecticut-based social media company, guys. They are an awesome alternative to Facebook. So if you guys value your right to freedom of speech like I do, and you guys want to be able to say stuff without fear of being attacked by the left, well then, ladies and gentlemen, head on over to Minds.com. Also, guys, I do have the most awesome, and I mean the most awesome affiliate link with Byrna. Byrna is the less lethal self-defense company, guys. They make their top-of-the-line Byrna SD, Byrna LE, TCR, Mission 4, and their newest, guys, their compact launcher. So if you guys value your right to the Second Amendment, your right to self-defense, but you guys want to do it in a less lethal manner, guys, well then, head on over to my friends at Byrna.com. And full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, I'm also a proud owner of a Byrna LE pistol myself. And finally, guys, I have this awesome affiliate link with North Shore Medical Supply. North Shore Medical Supply, they make their top-of-the-line North Shore Megamax diaper, North Shore Supreme diaper, North Shore Supreme pull-up, and their Eternal boosters, guys. So if you know somebody out there that needs to wear adult diapers, that needs to be put in adult diapers like I am, guys, well then, ladies and gentlemen, send them on over to my friends at North Shore Medical Supply, and they will make sure that they are diapered up and padded up like I am. And before we get this show on the road, literally, guys, if you guys love this episode and any of my other episodes on Nikki's World, seriously, y'all, can y'all please consider sharing this across all the social media platforms that are out there today? Wait, that was a mouthful. And yes, guys, that was a mouthful. And by the way, guys, I am diapered up as always. I am in my North Shore Megamax diapers with my Eterna boosters and my onesies from Little Comforts. So I am diapered up, padded up. Let's get on with the show, shall we? So this weekend, guys, fuck happened at the White House Correspondents Dinner this weekend where you got this deranged lunatic leftist from California who's a teacher who went all the way to Washington, D.C. to try and attack and assassinate President Donald J. Trump? I'm telling you, man, the left is getting politically violent. The left is getting politically active. They are getting politically violent in this country. We're getting to a point, ladies and gentlemen, that the left is getting very violent in this country. Just because you don't like the President of the United States, just because you don't like the direction that the country is going, doesn't mean that you have to resort to political violence just because you don't like the other person. My God, my God. These people, for some reason, on the left, they have grown up on a culture of they can get away with saying so much shit and do so much shit without any consequences. But the minute consequences comes crashing down on them, oh, they cry like the soy little fat, ugly bitches that they really are. Okay? The problem here is we have leftists who grew up on a culture of, oh, I could say all this. I could say conservatives this, conservatives that, or even mock the death of Charlie Kirk by making assassination gestures and not face any consequences for that shit. I'm from a generation growing up in Gen X that from the 80s and 90s that you do shit like that, you get your ass fired. You get your ass canceled. You get your ass thrown in prison for that shit. Nowadays, the left openly talks about the guy missed and hitting Donald Trump. Oh, he should aim a little better. That kind of shit would, and back in my day, that kind of shit would get your ass in fucking prison. That kind of shit would get you in prison in a fucking heartbeat. The fact that the left is constantly doing this, and you know who I blame for all this? The legacy media, the education system in this country, the teachers that have been indoctrinating kids into hating this country, hating the president, okay? And they've been indoctrinating people to hate anyone that disagrees with their ideology. This has got to fucking stop in this country. Seriously, this has got to fucking stop, all right? I mean, look, I've been through Carter, Clinton, Obama, and Biden. Yeah, I hated those guys, but I didn't resort to political violence. No, I just talked about it on my blog in the podcast show. I talked about disagreeing with them, but I didn't resort to political violence or terrorism. The left here has basically just crossed into political terrorism, and they ain't even coming back from that. And then the problem here is,
Could you try again?
and then the problem here is like this, guys, is that the liberal media is egging them. And I'm sorry if you heard Siri, guys. My apologies on that. If you heard Siri talk, so my apologies. But the fact of the matter is, guys, political violence is getting out of hand in this country. It is getting way out of hand, and it's getting so out of hand that it ain't even fucking funny anymore. It isn't, guys. It isn't. The fact of the matter is, guys, political violence is getting out of hand. It is getting so out of hand that it's not even funny. Okay? It is. The problem is like this. The left lives on this culture of TikTok or Instagram or Blue Sky, saying all these things about, oh, how the president should be this, and this. And there's no consequences for that shit. Because they live in this culture, this upbringing where they can say shit and not feel the consequences of their actions. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, kids. You say stuff like that back then, the Secret Service or the FBI shows up at your fucking door. They really do. Yeah. But the fact that the left keeps doing this shit over and over and over and over again and not face any consequences for what they say, but yet they wanna force the conservatives and Republicans or the evil Republicans to face the consequences and not them. Sorry, that's not how that fucking works in reality, okay? It don't matter what side of the political aisle you are, you face consequences whether you're a conservative, Republican, liberal, or Democrat. Either way, you face consequences regardless. But the problem is the left thinks that they can get away with saying shit because you know why? They're shielded by the legacy media. And I blame the fucking legacy media for pushing this kind of violent rhetoric in this country. I blame the legacy media from the failing New York Times, from the Washington Compost, okay, and from the Communist News Network, aka CNN, and all the legacy medias from CBS, ABC, and NBC. I blame them, and then I even blame the people from the MSNBC shit for pushing that kind of rhetoric onto this country. And then on top of that, you got leftist pundits like Harry Faggot Sisson for pushing this and promoting this kind of political violence in this country. You got them assholes doing it. I'm gonna tell you what, back in my day in the 80s and 90s, people like Harry Sisson would get their ass kicked and their shoes thrown on a telephone line. People like that would have that happen to them back in my day growing up. But now today, you got people like Harry Sisson and all the liberal influencers on shit talk talking about, hey, he missed. Oh, he should have aimed a little better. This is why shit like this in this country is why Gen Xers are sick and tired of the leftist fucking bullshit. I mean, look, we had disagreements as Gen Xers, but we don't go out there beating the living shit and punching people's faces or shooting at them or assassinating them or even like hitting protesting or having temper tantrums or all that other shit. We didn't do that growing up in the 80s and 90s. We didn't do that. No. We just disagreed and said, okay, it's your right. I don't give a shit. That's it. But this generation, just because you disagree with President Trump, just because you disagree with this country, that you want to politically assassinate him? Fuck no. No. And the asshole that got caught doing that, I hope the federal government throws his ugly carcass in ADX Florence, Colorado. I hope the federal government throws his like ugly pronoun shit in ADX Florence, Colorado. I hope they throw his ass in there because that's where he belongs. That's what he deserves. Yeah. And the fact that the left thinks political violence is okay to resolve disagreements, we're not defending your ass. We're gonna call your ass out. We're gonna call your ass, name and shame the living effing motherfucker out of you. Because I'm gonna tell you this: on the right, if we disagree, respect that. But on the left, you disagree, let's go violence to the 10th degree here, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what's wrong with this country here. What's wrong in this country is you got people enabled by social media, enabled by the legacy media, the education system, saying that, oh, you can say all the hateful shit about conservatives, Republicans, or anyone that disagrees with you, and we'll protect you. But if a conservative said the same thing about the left, they'd call it attack. But the problem is the left doesn't understand. We live in the United States of America. We literally do. We literally live in the United States of America. The fact that they want to attack anyone that disagrees with them or hates the president or hates the direction that this country is going in, you're not an adult in this room for all I care, ladies and gentlemen. And people on the left who talk openly about mocking the president, mocking the direction in this country, go turn in your grown-up card right now. Go turn in your grown-up card and go back to your mommy and daddy's basement where you fucking belong. Okay? And I'm going to say this right here out in the podcast, and y'all can flag it for all I fucking care. The biggest threat to this country is the Democrats, the legacy media, and our education system in this country. The biggest threats to this country is not foreign terrorists, not dictators. It's the legacy media, the Democrats, the education system, and the liberals in this country. They're the fucking biggest threat to this country. And they are a biggest threat. And why they're a big threat to this country is because they can't learn to agree and disagree like grown adults do. Like people from my generation, okay? They can't learn to agree and disagree. But their way of learning to agree and disagree is by shooting at them because they don't like them, or by canceling them, or by getting them doxxed, fired, and all this shit. Dude, that's not how you learn to debate like an adult. That's debating like a fucking child for all I fucking care. That's debating like a fucking little kid for all I care. Yeah. And what happened this weekend, guys, and I'm gonna post this on my podcast show. there's a thing on that thing called that TV show Dragnet in the 60s and 70s where that sergeant was grilling the kids about like trying to start a new country or trying to put political violence because of that. I'm going to put that speech right there in the link in the description because I'm going to tell you right now that speech from that show has meaning today. And when you listen to it, guys, I want you to listen to it carefully and why that's important today. But the fact of the matter is, guys, political violence does not solve anything. If the left thinks being politically violent is going to change people's views and mindset about you and your thinking, boy, you are fucking so dumb and so fucking mentally retarded. Yeah, because political violence doesn't solve anything. Even podcasters like Dan Bongino would tell you that right there. Dan Bongino would tell you straight up to your face and say political violence doesn't solve anything. Okay? Political violence, all it does is makes you look like a fucking asshole. And if you think that like, oh, trying to assassinate the president or trying to like attack people because you don't like the president or you don't like the direction this country is going, that doesn't work like that, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't work like that. And like I said before, I lived under Clinton, Obama, and Biden. We didn't like him. We disagreed with him. But I tell you what, we didn't resort to political violence like the left does right now. We don't do all that on our side. But it seems like because Trump's in the White House, the left wants to resort to political violence, to terrorism. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these people don't know how to learn to agree and disagree like adults. And that's why it takes Gen Xers like me to basically come in the room and say like this, you people need to learn to agree and disagree like adults. Just because they don't like your pronouns or what you identify or call yourselves that doesn't mean you have to resort to political violence, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And just because you don't like the fact that people voted for President Trump, people voted for the direction that the country is moving, that you got to resort to political violence, telling you, man, telling you, that's not how that works in this country. Okay? But the left thinks that just because they don't get their way, that you got to resort to political violence just because of the fact that you don't like how we're enforcing immigration law, that you want to have open borders, sanctuary cities, and illegals welcome into inner cities, but not in your fucking damn upper class, well-funded neighborhoods. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that's not how that works in this country. That's not how it works. And the fact of the matter is, and the sad fact is, the left thinks that political violence solves everything and that they've been indoctrinated by the liberal media, the liberal social media, and the liberal education system, and basically by the Democrat Party. I'm telling you, man, we have a problem in this country. And that problem is that the left thinks political violence is the answer. The left thinks that it's okay to attack people on the right just because they disagree with you or they disagree that men can be women, men can be pregnant, or men should be allowed to compete in women's sports, or they think that Trump is worse than fucking Hitler. That shit alone makes me go like this. You're fucking mentally retarded. if you're saying shit like that. That alone makes me say you're fucking mentally retarded. That you should be put in a mental institution for the rest of your fucking natural life. But then the problem is the current the current psychology and social work industry has enabled this kind of bullshit. Has enabled this and has literally has said like this: look, it's okay to have an opinion, but you can't cross that line into political violence. And that's the message that we need to come across as a nation today. We need to start telling people that, look, it's okay to agree and disagree with everything, okay? Like me, some things I disagree with President Trump. There are some things I agree with, okay? The other is, look, I may have disagreements about every social political issue, but I don't resort to political violence like the left. I don't resort to saying like, oh, these people should these people should this. I don't bet the left does. But it's also funny, ladies and gentlemen. The left talks about, oh, we should have gun control. We should have gun control. But then the problem is, let's talk about gun control on the left, who likes to use guns to resort to political violence because they don't like the president or they don't like the way the country is going, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact of the matter is, guys, and I'm going to say this, I give mad props and mad respect to the Secret Service, the FBI, and the U.S. Marshals that were there at that White House Correspondents Dinner, protecting the president, protecting the vice president, and protecting the secretaries. I give mad props for those guys, man. Those guys don't get paid enough. And to me, guys, those guys should at least be given like the keys to Fort Knox or have like at least like 2 bars of gold for them. At least like what with the current gold prices, they probably consider that as a bonus and be like, wait, I'm getting a gold bar every year for the bonus. How much is the gold worth? You know, they should be given that. You know, but mad props for those guys, mad respect for that. But the fact is, guys, the left on social media right now, they're all having a hissy fit and a temper tantrum because they didn't get their way. They didn't get the fact that, oh, President Trump is had this onto him and this and this. The fact of the matter is, guys, the left is getting politically violent, getting terroristic. Okay, they're getting terroristic to the point that it's becoming a national security nightmare in this country. It is getting to a point, ladies and gentlemen, that people can't learn to agree and disagree like grown adults here. And the fact that these people resort to violence, y'all shouldn't be called Americans, okay? Y'all shouldn't be called Americans. Y'all should be called Marxist terrorists. That's it. The fact that they can't learn to agree or disagree, guys, it's a telling sign. It's telling, ladies and gentlemen. It's really telling that these people, guys, have a hard time with learning how to agree and disagree with people. These people have a really, really hard time. They really do. All right? They really, really do. And the fact of the matter is, guys, these people need to learn how to agree and disagree with people and not resort to political violence, not resort to canceling people or doxing people. That's not how we do things growing up. Okay? That's not how we do things growing up as Gen Xers, okay? And I know there are millennials who grew up like in the 90s too, and there are a lot of millennials. There are probably a lot of millennials out there that are saying, we didn't do this shit. We didn't do this kind of shit growing up. But the fact is, guys, you got these people on the left who are resorting to political violence just because they hate President Trump? Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. Really? Really? I go like this. I know I hated Carter. I know I hated Clinton, Obama, and Biden. I know I hated those guys, but I know I didn't resort to political violence. I know my side didn't resort to political violence. We didn't. We did was disagreed, blogged about it, podcast about it. That's it. And we went on with our adult life. But the left, just because they disagree with President Trump, disagree with the direction this country's going, like border enforcement or immigration enforcement, they end up resorting to violence, to political violence in this country. And yes, guys, these people end up resorting to attacking conservatives, Republicans, or anyone that supports President Trump, supports the direction that this country is going. But they can't learn to agree and disagree. And that's because the liberal media, the liberal social media, the education system in this country is feeding and indoctrinating and is putting more fuel to the actual flame. And that's the fucking problem we have in this country, is that you got people who are actually pouring more fuel into the fire. And then you got people like me that are looking on and going like this. Dude, can we put out the damn fire that you're fucking causing, homeboy? Can we put it out, for Christ's sakes? Because for Christ's sakes, these people can't learn to agree and disagree. They can't. All they do is resort to political violence. They resort to political terrorism. And this is what's happening right now. The left is resorting to political terrorism in this country, all because they can't learn to agree and disagree. They simply can't, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact that they are going to political violence and political terrorism, yeah, guys, yeah, this is why shit like this doesn't work. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, shit like this does not work. Okay? It really doesn't. The fact of the matter is, guys, this shit is getting out of hand in this country. This shit is really getting out of hand. The fact that you got people on the left who are basically attacking anyone that supports President Trump, supports the direction that this country is in, shows me, ladies and gentlemen, there are people on the left that are so immature that their right to social media access should be ripped. Their right to have social media should be yanked so fucking far away from them. It really should, guys. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. These people on the left have basically thrown caution out the window, have basically thrown like common sense, decency. Okay? They've thrown everything out the window. And we all know, like this, guys, there are four things that the left lacks in this country that everybody else has, and including my generation, is what? Common sense, logic, reasoning, and critical thinking skills. Those are the things that the left lacks that almost Gen Xers like me have. Because I tell you this much, guys, I think critically, logically, analytically, and I got common sense and reasoning, and I go like this. Sure, I may disagree with President Trump. I may agree and disagree, but I'm not going to call for political violence. That's leftist shit right over there. But I know I disagreed heavily with Joe Biden, with Obama, Clinton, and Carter, but I've never called for political violence. I may disagree with them and say, yeah, I disagree with them on this and this and this, and even blogged about it, but we never went to political violence. We never went to political terrorism. On the left, on the other hand, they just because they disagree with Trump and the direction that this country is going, they want to resort to shooting people. That's indefensible right there, dude. That there is something we will not tolerate. We will not even defend for all I care. Because I'm going to tell you this much, guys. That shit right there, we're just going to say this flat out, guys. We think political violence is wrong in this country. Political violence has no room in any debate in this country. Okay? It has no room. The fact that they want to use political violence to basically like solve their disagreement about Trump or this country shows how really immature they really are. Shows how childish they really are. But yet they want to act like they're the adult in the room. My God. These people want to act like they're the adult in the room by saying, "Oh, I disagree with Trump. I disagree with this and this and this, and I'm calling them Nazis and all that." Dude, doesn't make you look like an adult in the room. Makes you look like a fucking damn mental retard and a fucking lunatic that should be put in a mental institution for the rest of your goddamn motherfucking damn life. Really does. When these people that go on shit talk or blue cry, or blue sky as they call it, and then have all these talks about like calling conservatives, Trump supporters of Trump like Nazi, Hitler, fascists, and all that. That makes you look like an immature mental retard and not an adult, kids. That makes you look like you're mentally immature, that you're not ready to sit at the adult and grown up table and learn to agree and disagree. You know how I learned to agree and disagree, guys? Back in my day in the 80s and 90s, we went to coffee shops to drink, have debates, and learn to agree and disagree at the coffee shop. We did. We literally did. But today's generation, because they're taught by the legacy media, the the education system, and the legacy social media, like Facebook, like that, or Blue Cry, that they're taught that, oh, I disagree with you, blah 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 blah. Hope you die, blah blah blah. That's not being an adult, like kids. That is not. That is being immature. And that shows your immaturity in this country. And then you got people going on shit talk, posting videos of disagreeing with Trump and all that. Come on. That just shows how fucked up, mentally retarded, immature, and basically that just shows that you're not an adult enough to sit at the table and argue and debate like everyone else. The fact that you want to resort to calling people you disagree with Hitler, fascist, Nazi, and then call everyone like every bigot and homophobe name in a motherfucking goddamn book. Come on, man. That just shows that you don't know how to debate people, you don't know how to argue with people, and you literally just want to act like you're big and bad and tough and all this shit because you're hiding behind a keyboard, hiding behind a screen. But the problem is that you don't know how to debate people in front of their face. I always say like this, and I grew up in the 1980s and 90s that if you had a disagreement with someone, you better stand up for what you say. And you better stand for what you say. Because back then, if you disagreed with someone so badly, man, you better be prepared to stand up for it. Because sometimes back in my days, you would have been beaten. You would have been in the hospital for it. Yeah. But today's generation, I'm like this. God fuck. Damn. You people don't know how to fucking learn to debate and agree and disagree like we did as Gen Xers. Yeah, God fucking damn. Yeah. And it kind of makes me like go like this. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Seriously. The fact that you people can't learn to agree and disagree like grown ass adults? Oh my fucking God, people. Yeah. That's why the left today, no thanks to the legacy media, legacy social media, the Democrat Party, and the liberal establishment in this country, no thanks to these people have caused so much political violence in this country that anyone that's a teacher in this country, I'm gonna say like this: y'all responsible for sowing the seeds of hatred and discontent, sowing the seeds of like basically political terrorism in this country. Y'all people are responsible for causing so much hatred in this country, so much division, divide. Okay? But yet, you people want to say, oh, we're united, united, united. Yeah, united, my fucking bullshit. United, my fucking bull fucking shit, kids. You ain't united. You're divided, divided, divided. That's what you really are. Yeah. And then I hear all these protest slogans like united, united, or they should be saying divided, divided, divided. Because that's what they really are, guys. That's what they're really chanting. But that's why it's like this. That's why the way the left is right now, pushing political violence, pushing political terrorism, because they hate President Trump, they hate the direction of this country. These people, these people are why we despise them. These people are why I hate them. And that's why I consider them a threat to this country. The biggest threats in this country are not terrorism and foreign dictators. The biggest threats to the United States of America are the legacy media, the legacy social media, the Democrat National Party, and the liberals in this country. Those four that I said right there are the biggest threats to this country. And they are a threat to this country and a threat to the way of life in this country, okay? They really are. These people are why political violence has no standing in this country. And if the left continues to do this shit, they're going to look like flat earthers in a conference room. They're going to look like the fringe, mentally retarded people that you laugh, okay? The people that, you see the schizophrenics, the bipolars, the maniacs on the streets. That's what the left and the liberal media is going to be like that in this country, guys. That's where they're headed. That's where they're becoming. And that's where they're going right now. And the fact is, guys, this is the result of the political, cultural, and social climate that we are in this country. Political violence has no room in America, okay? And we need to clamp that down. We need to We need grown-ups in the room to say this. You can agree and disagree, but you cannot resort to political violence. You resort to political violence, then consequences come crashing down on you like a fucking freight train. It's that simple, guys. It is really that simple. The left needs to learn that consequences, okay? Consequences come into play for your words and your action, okay? They grew up on a culture of no consequences for their actions. Now that needs to come back in, and it needs to come back like a fucking lion and a fucking bear with his paws open swinging at him. It really does, guys. It really does. And mind you, guys, my podcast episode for today, I condemn political violence in this country. I condemn the left's political violence because these people can't learn to agree and disagree. And since they can't learn to agree and disagree, but have to resort to political violence, I'm calling them out for what it is. And I'm calling them out. And I'm gonna say like this: the left is basically politically violent, and the left is a threat to this country. There, I said it, guys. I said my peep. And let's do the famous mic drop. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys for listening to Nikki's World. I'm Nikki, your host. I will see y'all soon. Bye for now.
You just listened to an episode of Nikki's World. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all soon. Bye for now.